massive bang, massive scream, and then there was like paper just like falling from the sky, and it was just like complete silence. On the 31st of January 2012, 8th Platoon were to conduct a deliberate operation onto a known Taliban safe haven called Nark Hill. So we were to leave and advance onto the village, and then the Taliban would come out and initiate the contact, drawing them into a firefight, in which then the attack helicopter would come in and give us fire support. Now, deliberate ops, they feel a bit different and they work a little bit different to your normal daily patrols. On your normal daily patrol, we're heading out in just our multiples, and we've normally got only like 10 to 14 guys. But for an operation like this, there's much more manpower. So we had 8 platoon as a whole, and that was consisting of Alpha multiple under my boss, which is 6-2 Alpha, Bravo multiple under the platoon sergeant, which is 6-2 Bravo. And then at the rear, you'd have the HQ platoon, headquarters platoon, with the company sergeant major, which is 6-9 call sign. And with him, he'd maybe have like a signaller, a medic, and then his own little work party. So my call sign for this was 6-2 India. And on this actual operation, my platoon sergeant was just going on R&R. So we've had him for the whole of the tour. And then on this exact day, he was going back to Camp Bastion to head back on his R&R. So we ended up having a different platoon sergeant, 9 platoon sergeant Jay Baldwin, come in. And he was then our acting platoon sergeant. So for the day, the order and march would have been myself at the front, leading from the front, and then Jay at the platoon sergeant, Jay at the back. Okay, so 31st of January 2012, we leave around 0700. We was a bit late leaving because we didn't get wheels up from Camp Bastion, and we weren't allowed to leave until you got wheels up, just simply because it is a deliberate operation. So we need that wheels up, and that AH stood just outside sound, just in case we did get engaged early. So we ended up leaving late. So we leave PB Clifton and we head down Route Sefton, heading towards the green zone, straight down towards Helmand River. And the Calais just off Helmand River. So we chuck a dog leg heading towards it, and we split up into our multiples and advancing onto the village from different angles. So as we advance up, we're maintaining fire support with a HQ company at the back, HQ support platoon at the back, and then we go firm. So the plan was for us to go firm and then Alpha multiple to advance on and initiate the contact. So we'd done a couple of bounds up, and then we went firm, maybe like 50 to 70 meters shy, and we hadn't gone firm long, and before Alpha multiple could move, we had contact IED. So we got into position, and yeah, just there for a couple of minutes, and then there was all of a sudden just this fucking absolute massive bang from the rear of the patrol. And I kind of like felt like it massive force throw me forward, like there was loads of shit that come forward, and then there was just like a massive bang, massive scream, and then there was like paper just like falling from the sky, and it was just like complete silence. It was like real silent, you know. It's a real weird moment. And then one of the blokes called my name. He shouted Sammy, 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 and I got up and started running around to the back of the patrol. So as I'm running around, 062 India, contact wait out, just because I didn't know what was going on. And I get around to the back of the patrol, and I see Jay inside a crater, my platoon sergeant inside a crater after getting blown up by a pressure plate, and Jonesy, one of the TA lads, was already inside the crater, putting double tourniquets on him and giving him morphine. So I get to the back of the patrol, I look inside the crater, and send my first radio, 062 India, man down, contact IED, single amputee, above the knee, and wait out. And then I carried on looking inside the crater, you know, and then my brain kind of registered, and then I had to send again, 62 India, wrong, double amputee above the knee. Now at this point, it's down to the commander, like so myself in this situation, you know, it was, you know, you're up, pal. So it was my turn I had to send a missed report, and they won't give you, your MERT won't leave, the medical evacuation team won't leave wherever it is until they get what we call a missed report, which is a mechanism of injury sustained, signs and symptoms, and treatment given. And that's just so that they know what to bring with them and how many people they might need a bigger heli if there's more than one casualty. So I'm sorting this out, and as I'm sorting this out, Jay says to me, Sammy, hurry up, mate, I'm slipping away. And that was a real moment for me where it was like, you know, shoulders drop, take a deep breath, and just, you know, it's fucking game on at that point. So we pulled him out of the ditch, got him out of the ditch, and put him straight onto a stretcher. And this is the point where you have to be really careful. So in previous episodes, I've spoken about the safe lanes. Now, safe lanes, they give you enough working area for you to patrol down, but what they might not give you is enough working area for you to have a stretcher, plus guys either side, and then plus all of your kit, plus his kit. You know, you need a lot more working area than what people think. And then when it comes to that, and the reason why you've got to be so careful of that is because the Taliban know our SOPs. They know that if someone gets blown up, they know that blokes are going to go in and going to start giving them aid. And they know that we don't have that massive working area. So for them, they end up putting what we call secondary devices or daisy chains, in which they'll put a device here, they know someone gets blown up there, and then they know that we're going to go and step nearby. So they'll put surrounding devices. So we have to be super, super careful. Now at this point, I kind of realised I had two options, okay? I had like a track that could go all the way back down to where the HLS was, or I had a route back out into a ploughed field, which was going to be really hard to cross. I chose the ploughed field. Now, we don't really talk about these kind of things, and at this point, as I started pushing out into the field, the attack helicopter's already come in, and it's kind of coming over the net. We're going to get danger close. And as it starts engaging, you know, not so far away, there's a moment where we're all down and waiting for that to happen, and then when we realise that it's okay for us to, I don't know why I'm getting down, when it's okay for us to actually start extracting, we have to carry on. So that's engaging and we get on with it. I never actually spoke to anybody from one of the other platoons to ask what was going on in that situation, because it wasn't my call sign. So once we realised that we was okay to move, we started moving, and that's what we did. Yeah, so I get on the net, 6962 India, that's me en route back to your location, 0 acknowledge, 69 acknowledge, that's Sergeant Major, and he's already sorted out a HLS, you know, about however many metres back, 300-400 metres back. So I got my point man to start clearing the route back out into the irrigated field, into the ploughed field, and it was real fucking muddy, it was real soft, it was so deep. It felt like, initially it probably felt like the wrong decision, but I don't think it was, because if we went down the path, there's a much higher chance that we would have got blown up again. So we made our way back down through the field, and we start pushing back towards Sergeant Major. And now this is the part where it's a real fucking graft. You know, you've got a casualty on the stretcher, and that's a dead weight once it's on there. No pun intended. It's a dead weight. There's no, you know, you've got all his kit on, and then you've got all your kit. We was going through fucking probably like a foot worth of like soft mud, and then at the same time you've got all of the casualties kit as well. So you have to pick that up and put that on. So we started making our way back down, and the boys absolutely dug in blind at this point. You know, it was like, I've never been more proud, I've never been more inspired by blokes in all my life. They absolutely dug out blind to get him back to where we needed to. So we dropped Jay off back down at HLS, and he's also with the medic, Vicky. And then at that point I had to push my blokes back out into like protection, facing back onto the village. And this point is like where you kind of have to, as a commander, I had to feel like I had to stay on top of the blokes, because this is where like the 1,000-yard stairs kind of creep in, you know. The adrenaline dumps have just happened, the adrenaline's starting to wear off, kind of realising what's going on and what's happening, and it's just a moment where you have to stay on top. It's where the enemy are going to probably come and try and hit us. They'd love to try and take down a heli if they could, as we realised when we was with A Company. And you just have to stay on top of it. So I was kind of trying to stay between the blokes and then also Jay. And then when I went back to visit Jay, Vicky was doing what she was doing. I had to tighten up one of his tourniquets, which was fucking nails, much harder than I thought it was going to be. And he also said that he couldn't breathe. So I popped half of his body armour off. We have like poppers on our shoulders on the body armour, so I popped it off and just like lifted it off from the side, back towards the enemy, so it's still facing. As the heli's coming in, like people don't really say about it. We learn about it in training. But as the heli comes in, obviously it's got a massive downdraft, so it picks up so much shit. And in training, they kind of teach us that you have to like just cover the person's face, cover the casualty's face to stop them breathing in loads of shit. But in reality, like it just doesn't work. You know, it's not enough. So as it's happening, I had to like go over the top of him, and my head was inside, you know, trying to cover over the top of Jay, and was kind of like just face to face. And after someone getting blown up, his face was like really just like dry with dirt, dry blood and stuff, and it was just a moment that really stuck with me for a long time after that. But I know loads of lads would have experienced that exact same thing, because in training, you know, maybe they're wrong for teaching us this initially. Obviously, that is probably much more practical when you really do think about it. But I know loads of lads would have experienced this exact same thing. So we whacked him on the HLS, and when the mercs come in, there's guys that go off. They got their flight gear on. They look like fucking something out of Star Trek. They take him off here. They whack him on the wagon on the heli, and then off they go. And then it goes quiet again. You know, it's back to normal. Casualty's gone, and there's no more chaos. It's not chaos anyway, but it feels like, you know, once that moment's all massive, huge moment, like half an hour of just absolute fucking urgency. And then once that's done, it's back to complete silence. And then we patrolled back to CP Malvern, which wasn't too far away, checkpoint Malvern. And there was a QRF platoon, I think it was 7 platoon, so you got a full platoon there, and then you had all of 8 platoon. And this was where the company Sergeant Major Kev Marsh gave us his Sergeant Major speech. And I'm sure this is like, it's a moment that you see on movies, you know, and it's something that I'm sure no Sergeant Major, no man ever wants to give to his blokes. But I take my hat off to him for doing it. I don't know how he come up with the words or what to even say in those kind of moments when you got like, you know, 60, 70 odd blokes staring at you, just, you know, stone cold face, just lost their platoon sergeant in a IED, and it's just a hell of a moment for someone to have to give such a speech like that. I don't know how we come up with the words, you know, but that's why he was a Sergeant Major. So he gave his speech, and then he said, Sammy, get you guys on the wagon first. So my section got on the wagon first, my multiple got on the Mastiffs. The Mastiffs took us back up to PB Clifton. We got off the wagons, unloaded the guys into the loading bay, and then this was a moment, the lads started having a little bit of a cry, but it's not like a cry like a big sad cry, it's just quiet tears, you know, and that's when guys embraced each other, and, you know, you give each other a hug, and that's where, like, those real bonds are formed, you know, that's where a proper brotherhood's formed, is where that bond that you can't really explain comes from, those kind of moments. So in the middle of that's happening, and then Soldier A, another man from our company, came round and he grabbed me, obviously I was the commanding patrol, grabbed me and pulled me around the corner and really started, like, asking for a full debrief, which I didn't even know how to take, and that's something I held on to for quite a while, but it took me a while to let go of that, as in whatever I was feeling from that man. But yeah, I really prayed to the stars that night, you know, like that was a night when I really sat on the HLS and I really prayed to the stars. I prayed to whatever bigger power it was to just keep Jay alive. And Sergeant Major said that he was okay, he'd been put into an induced coma, but he was just sat there praying that he'd still be alive. And then it was also just like this complete disbelief, knowing that I'm not going to believe that he's okay until I go back and see him, which was what I ended up doing when I got back from tour. And, you know, there's a moment I look forward to so much, going up to Headley Court, but that's something I'll come on to at a later date. But yeah, that was it. It was a massive day, and it's just hard to talk about, but I wanted to talk about it again just because it's different from reading from a diary, and it's also days that guys went through, and yeah. Oof. Yes. See you next week, guys.